Hey guys, hope you're well. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe. And of course, to all of you, please like, comment and share the vids. It's really greatly appreciated and it really helps. Let's go straight into it then. I want to do a short video just on last night's boxing. So the BT Sports show with Liam Williams heading the card, and also a couple of announcements for quite big fights that have come about, which I wasn't able to touch upon in my last video as it hadn't been confirmed yet. So let's quickly go through the BT Sports show first, and let's look at one of the fights on the undercard I want to touch upon. So Nathan Gorman made his return to the ring after being pretty devastatingly knocked out by Daniel Dubois, and he looked pretty good, pretty solid. He returned with a points win against Richard Lartey, who Dubois had a war with in one of his previous fights. Dubois got him out of there. Gorman's a slightly different fighter to Dubois. He's not a type of heavyweight who has that punch power that, you know, is going to floor lots of people and knock lots of people out. He doesn't particularly punch to the target and plant his feet. He's more of a... obviously he's not on the level of Tyson Fury, but if you think about Tyson Fury against Klitschko or in his previous fights before this second Wilder fight even, that he's that type of ilk of fighter, jab and move and use his feet. And yeah, he did look a bit out of shape, but I guess he's been out for quite a long time, and because of COVID he probably didn't know when he was going to fight as well. He's a heavyweight as well, so he doesn't have to make weight. So, you know, it'd be nice to see him maybe in slightly better shape. I think he was in for what I've seen against Dubois, he was in pretty decent shape. He came a little bit out of shape for this one, career heaviest. But as for his performance, it was solid. He avoided a banana skin in Lartey, and hopefully now we can see him in some bigger fights and build himself up again. He is actually trained by Ricky Hatton, and look, they do rate him. And a lot of people, when Gorman fought Dubois, a lot of people were saying Gorman would beat him. Tyson Fury said Gorman would beat Dubois. So, you know, you never know what this guy, what this kid can do in terms of potential. I say kid, but he's probably the same age as me, or well, only a couple of years younger. But yeah, good for him, and hopefully he can now go on and start building himself up again and get to hopefully start challenging for British titles, European titles, and make his way up. So yeah, good to see from him. Right, okay, on to the main event, which didn't last very long. Another BT Sport card which ends in round 1. And if you're thinking of the other card that I'm talking about, it's the Taylor Consong one. And again, this was stopped by a body shot. But Liam Williams, first of all, so he fought Andrew Robinson. If you guys don't know him, it's not that surprising. He's not a huge name in the sport. Liam Williams was defending his British middleweight title, and yeah, this was a tune-up fight. He's mandatory for Demetrius Andrade, as I've said in my previous video, so for the WBO middleweight title, and he's been chasing that fight, but it doesn't seem like it's going to materialise now anyway, at least. So in the meantime, he thought he'd have a keep busy fight, and yeah, blew out Andrew Robinson inside a round. He's brutal, isn't he, at middleweight? Like, he just comes forward and he's an action-packed fighter, and he's just relentless. And yeah, he wobbled in first with the overhand right, and then straight away left it to the body, and Andrew Robinson was on the floor, and the referee called it off because obviously, yeah, he wasn't responding in the way that he wanted him to. So another really good body shot by someone, which seems to be a theme the last few weeks. Liam Williams is... So at light middleweight, he has challenged for a world title, 2, I think. Definitely has challenged for at least 1. And didn't look as strong as he does at middleweight. And I think a lot of people are saying, and rightly so, that he's more suited to middleweight. And some people picking him to beat someone like Demetrius Andrade, who's a 2-weight world champion. They're going to be... Him and Frank Warren are going to be chasing Demetrius Andrade now 24/7 for his title shot. And I think they're going to be saying, look, either you fight us next or you vacate the belt. I think like Eddie Hearn and Demetrius Andre, they want to fight Jamal Charlo, who's got the WBC middleweight belt, and they want to unify. But to be honest, if you wanted to do that, and I can kind of see where Liam Williams would. I can see why Liam Williams is getting a little bit frustrated, because really they could have made that Demetrius Andre Charlo fight a while back, but they haven't done it. So, I mean, I understand there's the difficulties with broadcasters, etc. But look, I mean, that's not his fault. So I think he's just going to want to go for it. Interesting to see what happens there. Okay, let's go on to a couple of fights that have been announced. So, one that I've talked about in one of my previous videos with Campbell, where we broke it down, a really exciting fight. Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell for the WBC interim lightweight title. Yeah, I mean, WBC interim title, I mean, I guess it just means that they're going to be most likely next in line or mandatory for whoever's got a WBC belt after the... Well, no, Lomachenko's got the franchise belt. So I guess whoever wins that is going to be mandatory for Devin Haney, who's got the normal belt. Yeah, WBC, I don't know. Anyway, but I think that's a topic for another video. It's just confusing. Anyway, so that's a really exciting fight, though. That's been announced for December 5th. And if you haven't seen it already, please check out Campbell and myself's breakdown of the fight. I think me and him have very different views on the fight, so it'll be good to see what you guys think as well. So let me know. As you can probably tell if you've watched the video, I'm more lean towards Luke Campbell. I think he is buying into the hype of Ryan Garcia, which is fair enough. You know, he's a very promising youngster, so it'll be a very, very interesting fight for sure, and looking forward to that. Then another really high-profile fight, and very weirdly was announced the next day, and it's on the same day. Now, both these fights are going to be in America. Surely there's an issue there with... Are they not going to lose some viewership because of it? I guess maybe if one's in LA and one's going to be in Dallas, Texas, so maybe there's a difference in time zone. I'm not that familiar with time zones in the US, but I'm assuming it's going to be a different time zone, so it won't be on at the same time, potentially. So maybe they're thinking, look, it's not going to make that big a difference, but surely you just want to try and do it on a different day, even if it's... I mean, I guess they don't want to do Sundays. Flying... Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. But anyway, PBC have announced Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. Huge fight for Errol Spence's IBF and WBC welterweight titles. Errol Spence, which has been very, very well documented, that he had that really bad car crash where he was drink driving and obviously got slapped on the wrist and didn't look good, to be honest, after that. But he's put that all behind him, and it would have been at least a year or so now since that's happened. So he's going straight in for his comeback fight against Danny Garcia, which is that's a really hard fight to go in first up. Danny Garcia obviously was a menace at light welterweight. He's been okay at welterweight. He had, a lot of people say he beat Sean Porter in that split decision, and again had a close fight with Keith Thurman as well, which I think again was split decision loss. So both of those split decision losses from what I can remember. So he hasn't won a title yet at welterweight and is still looking to. I just think he doesn't quite carry up the power that he had at light welterweight into welterweight. Yeah, I just don't think he is... There's a lot better fighters for sure in welterweight anyway. And I just feel that Danny Garcia, for example, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, but he beat Amir Khan when Amir Khan was in his prime pretty much at the time. I mean, that's when he was considered probably the best light welterweight in the world. But Amir Khan was dominating that fight, and then Danny Garcia threw... It's not a lucky punch, he just threw a very, very good punch. And Amir Khan is known to not have great punch resistance. So, but he's got a very good, almost a laser right hand. He's very, very solid fighter, right? I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to potentially win this fight. I just think Errol Spence... Look, I think the question is going to be around whether Errol Spence has anything left. No, not anything left. That's the wrong thing to say. Is Errol Spence the fighter that he once was? because since that crash, people were saying, look, he's had his jaw, he's had like metal plates in his jaw and like screws and stuff, and like his teeth are loose, and it's just like there's all sorts going on. Like he had to have reconstruction done to his face, so I don't know. I mean, he already, I think, balloons quite a lot in between fights, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he does in terms of making weight. But as for how he's going to perform, I think it's going to be tough, because I think, look, if he's the fighter that he was before, I think he defeats Danny Garcia pretty handily, probably a late KO, I would assume, but or even maybe like a pretty comfortable points win. If he is not quite the fighter he once was, which I think, look, in the first couple of rounds, even if he is, I think there will be an element of ring rust. Danny Garcia has obviously been more active. Errol Spence hasn't been, and there surely will be slight doubts in his head, thinking, you know what, is this going to affect me? Like, when I get punched in the face hard, is it going to hurt more? Is my jaw going to... I don't know the medical... what's happened to him medically, but it's going to be very intriguing to see what happens. For one, I'm really hoping that Errol Spence is the fighter he once was, and we finally, maybe next year, get him versus Crawford. I mean, that's really wishful thinking, but that is the fight that, look, if both of them are at their best and they're fit and they're firing on all cylinders, that is just a huge fight, and it's definitely up there for me with the Tyson Fury AJ fight. And I would, to be honest, if I could see one fight, that would be the fight I'd like to see. So I'm really hoping, look, he looks good in this fight. If he wins this comfortably, then it's a statement. He's saying, look, I'm back and I'm ready to fight whoever. And actually something that's very close, which they haven't quite announced, is Crawford versus Kell Brook, which is for November. I think they're looking at November 14th, but they're struggling to find someone to pick up the pay-per-view, and especially in the UK. What do you guys think about that? Because I don't think Kell Brook has... Well, he hasn't made 147 since fighting Errol Spence in 2017. So surely he's going to be weight drained and he's going to struggle to make weight and he's not going to be 100%. I don't know. I just feel like maybe this is a fight that could have been taken... If he was going to take it, it's maybe a fight that... If it was even 2 years ago, I'd say maybe. But I just feel like now... he's going to struggle to make the weight in terms of... I think he'll make it okay, but I think physically he'll look very good. But when he actually performs, I feel like he's going to gas out. I think he's going to struggle. I feel like that's not his optimal weight anymore. I don't think 147 is. But again, I think it could be a case of the Amir Khan Crawford fight where he'll look good for a couple of rounds, Kell Brook, and then Crawford will smoke him and basically take over. I mean, Crawford is way too good. I think he's in the prime of his career at the moment. Surely someone like Kell Brook is not in the prime anymore. I think a prime Kell Brook is causing Crawford problems for sure. And I don't want to talk about who would win that fight, but I think it's a very, very competitive fight. I think this fight is... I don't want to say it's not competitive. I just think there's a heavy favourite in this fight. Crawford is a heavy favourite. And on paper, some people are saying, look, Kell Brook is his most challenging fight yet. Yes, potentially alongside Amir Khan, I guess. But Amir Khan, I think, has probably been... he's probably deteriorated more than Kell Brook. At the time that he fought Crawford, and Kell Brook is going to fight Crawford, or even. It's... yeah. I don't know. It's just really disappointing, because I would have rather have seen, say, Crawford against Porter. And I think that would have been interesting, because obviously Spence fought him recently, and Porter gave Spence... No, he gave him problems, man. It was a close fight. So that would be interesting to see how Crawford does with him. Look, I mean, as a Brit, it'll be great to see Kell Brook perform well, and I mean, if he gets a shock win, wow, I mean, what a win that would be. That's what I'm going to say, what a win that would be. But realistically, I think we're looking at a Crawford win, and then hopefully they can set up that super fight next year between him and Spence. But yeah, I mean, the welterweight division has got killers, but they've got people coming up now as well, so like Jared Ennis and a few others. So look, I think they've got to start making those fights now before they become not less relevant, but before the publishers get a bit bored and say, look, we've been asked for this fight for ages, it's not happening. So yeah, hopefully we get it right. I think that's all I want to cover for today. So thanks very much, guys, for checking out this video. If you haven't already, as I've said, please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share the vids. It's really greatly appreciated. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I'm a massive Nadal fan, so Vamos Rafa. He's now joint on 20 Grand Slams with Roger Federer, and I'm really happy about that. Sorry, a bit of unrelated, well, it's not really boxing related, is it? But tennis anyway. I'm a massive tennis fan as well, so really happy about that. And yeah, thanks guys.